Good
Yeah.
afternoon, everyone. This is Lonzo Williams, the president of the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce, representing CEC TV and the Hub City Legend newspaper. And today we're going to have a little talk with Third District City Council person Jonathan Bowers. How you doing, Mr. Bowers?
I'm good, Lonzo. How you doing, man?
I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be all right.
Good,
You know,
good.
you and I have had some conversations off camera, one-on-one, and you've always expressed a certain kind of love and affection for Compton. And I thought it might be a good time for us to update what you've done, what you're doing, what you got planned. And before I go any further, this opportunity is open to anyone on the city council, the mayor, all the city council districts, city manager, city clerk. So come on through. I'd love to have you. Jonathan Bowers accepted my offer this weekend, and here we are today, folks. Talk to me, Mr. Bowers.
Well, I mean, Lonzo, there's a lot going on in the city. A lot potentially coming down the pipe. My position on this, well, I'll cut right to the chase. Compton obviously has a litany of problems that have gone on for years. I'm optimistic that we could fix this problem. However, it's going to take some real talent. And thus far, we're not there yet. It's going to take a collaboration of the whole council, of the city staff. And unfortunately, we got a long ways to go. Now, my philosophy, if you will, is a little different than the rest of the council. And I'll start by saying this. I've taken a dramatic departure from the usual ceremonial and events-oriented leadership of the city council members. Attending events is important. However, hitting the books, being in that office, understanding the operations of a municipality, of this multi-million-dollar corporation, that is a must. That is not happening with this current government. If you're at events all the time, then you can't possibly be well entrenched and have a thorough understanding of the operations of this government. You got to roll your sleeves up and get in there. It's tedious. It's not easy, and part and parcel because Compton, the train is come off the tracks, and it's been off the tracks for a long time. This is not an easy fix, but it's doable. But you got to put some work in. I go to events too, but I don't need to be at the council meetings telling you that I was at a turkey giveaway here, I was at a birthday party there. You saw me there anyway. You didn't see me in the office though. You didn't see me working with the controller, being on the finance committee, going through these numbers and what have you, getting ready for this or getting prepared for our internal audits so they could be presented. And by the way, we are caught up on our audits. Finally, we've completed the 2022 audit. We started the 23 audit, and it should be completed by March, and then it'll be time to do the 24 audit. We will be totally caught up. That was an absolutely monumental task, but this has put us in a much better standing than we were with the state of California, because as you know, that state audits put us at #1 for the worst financially managed city in the state. Out of 480 something cities, we were #1 for the worst.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So we're getting there. We ain't where we need to be, but we are getting there. It's still been an uphill battle because of the culture here in Compton. It's hard to change. It's hard to change culture. And, unfortunately, the condition of the city as you see it, it benefits some people and they don't want to change. And there is some resistance to this change, but it has to change in order for this city to exist in the future. We have to change this. We have to come up with, well, let me back up. Some of my plans are to work on funding plans for, like example, the pension tax that's on your property tax that so many people despise. However, that tax has been on there since 1947, And there's never been a real plan or discussion to reduce or eliminate that tax. Now, as it stands, you're not going to be able to eliminate that tax because if you pulled that off your tax bill right now and put it in the general fund, the city would go bankrupt tomorrow. Now, there's some council members are circulating a petition to essentially have that removed, but that's just a false sense of hope because you just can't do it. You can't do it. We have to have a funding plan for that in order to make that move, period. And until you've done that, it's not going to happen. We owe our obligation to that pension is $300 million. It's $150 million in the our retirement commitment. It's $150 million in the benefits commitment. Now we have about $100 million in the bank. Now the question is, how do we reduce that number? And that's doable. One of the things that came up was if we drop a balloon payment, say $100 million on, could that reduce that commitment and essentially reduce your property tax with respect to that pension obligation? That's very possible. That's something we're looking into. And there's other things that are in motion right now. For example, as new employees get hired, they're going to have to contribute more to their pension as opposed to the city doing it now. So there are some things, there's some action taking place right now. It's in motion. So, these are the things that we need to brainstorm and put our heads together as a council, and these are the kind of things we should be doing.
What's the current rate of the tax, property tax in Compton based on that pension?
Well, I mean, that's going to vary because I don't know the exact percentage number because it depends on when you got your property. Because actually, a resident sent me her property tax, and we highlighted her pension obligation. So hers, you get your tax bill twice a year, correct?
Right.
So hers is $2,300 per, twice a year. So it's what almost $5,000
right
for her. Mine is $600 twice a year.
Oh, big.
But I got my house a long time ago,
Right.
and the values are assessed by LA County, not by the city of Compton.
So Compton,
and it depends on when you got your property.
Compton has nothing to do with the assessment of the property. That's something people don't quite understand. They think that you guys are the ones in control of that. Some people do. Think that the city council votes on that and raises it up when they feel like it. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not. That's LA County tax assessment. Now, on that note, though, there are some things you can do to reduce some of your taxes. There are some things you can do. And you can look at some areas on your tax bill. You can even have them reassess your property. There's several things you can do. And contact that office and you can look. There's a list of things that you can possibly do to reduce your property taxes. Now how much you can do, I don't know those numbers exactly, but there are ways to reduce your taxes, and that's something that the residents need to look into. And it will be different depending on your household or whatever. It's not a blanket statement.
Interesting. Okay. What else? I mean, I see roads are being fixed. I see trees being trimmed. There is some bright side to this whole situation. What else is being planned?
Well, absolutely, Lonzo. So that right there tells you there's things going in the right direction. Finally, because we're again. Let's go back to the audit.
Okay.
Let me just say this real quick. I wrote a bunch of notes just for work with me on this, so I know I'm not losing my mind here. You can't fix the problem unless you identify what it is.
Okay.
You can't fix a problem without first recognizing and acknowledging the problem exists. So they hadn't trimmed trees in probably 10 or 15 years. So again, everything was just in disarray. The right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. So to narrow that down, to make some kind of sense out of it, it was a monumental task, and as you can see, that has happened with just that area, but there's still a long ways to go. The streets are being repaired. The Wilmington project is finally going to start after probably 10, 15 years at least. It's going to be starting at the end of this month.
Okay.
And that'll take us from about El Segundo or Rosecrans or El Segundo. Now, I'd say El Segundo to the 91 freeway. So that's going to be starting soon. You know, some of the staff had to get jumped on, if you will, to get in order, because it was unbelievable. The I don't want to say incompetence, but incompetence and just the you know, the overall work ethics of some of the staff members, you know, and it's very challenging, you know, when people, they get upset with the council and say, you're not doing XYZ. Well, the council, we don't fill potholes, we don't pave streets or trim trees. The staff does that. And it's actually illegal for the council to direct employees. You know, now, do we talk to employees sometimes? Yes, but that's illegal. It has to go through the city manager. That is the law. He manages all the employees in the city. The city manager takes directions from the council. So if you got a solid city manager, things will get done. And as you know, some of the past city managers, it just wasn't happening. The unfortunate side is when people say, oh, you've gone through all these city managers. Well, you know, look at the circumstances. It's not like we hired and fired. You'd had, if you go back to, let's just say when Craig Cornwell was the city manager. Now, they had some city managers before that. Now, the reason why they came and went, that was some political stuff that I wasn't here. I don't know, but I know it's a lot of politics and what have you. That's not exactly the same situation that occurred since Craig Cornwell was the city manager. When I was elected, literally the first council meeting was to vote on extending or renewing, Craig Cornwell's contract. And we were supposed to vote on it that evening, but that was the first time I saw the contract. And I stated to him, I said, I can't vote on this right. I got to read it. You know, I got to sit down. I got to highlight it. I got to go through it and digest it. It's going to take me a week or so to go through this contract. And literally they were saying, no, you got to do it tonight, right now. And I'm like, I don't know. I need more time on this. So to make a long story short, you know, some of the things that they were asking for in that contract, the citizens would have flipped out. I mean, he wants guaranteed employment till like 2027. He wanted raises, more sick time, more life insurance, et cetera, et cetera. But during that regime, that past regime, they laid off more than half of the city staff. So why should you get guaranteed a job when you laid off all these people and they're probably losing their homes and cars or whatever the case may be? A lot of people suffered by that layoff. And not only that, the city suffered big time. As you can see, the disrepair the city went into. So to make a long story short, you know, they literally put a gun to my head and said, you got to vote on this now. So when we got on the floor, I said no. And his contract expired the next day and he was gone. Now, that being said, the attorney, Damon Brown, essentially badgered me. I'm not going to say the whole council because myself at the time, the council that was seated was Mayor Sharif, Michelle Chambers, myself, and Isaac Galvan. They knew Isaac Galvan wasn't going to vote for him. So they were counting on me to do it. I'd be that third vote. And I didn't do it, you know, for obvious reasons, what I just told you. Okay. So, you know, Damon Brown made several statements that, you know, you messed up. The state is going to get us now and without having a city manager. Well, how did I mess up? I voted just like everybody else. I have a right to vote the way I want to vote. So, you know, we can be without a city manager for 60 days, according to the municipal code. However, we do have assistant city managers. And I mentioned that to Damon Brown. He says, well, they can't do this, they can't do that. Then what do we have them here for? If they can't do anything, let's get rid of them too. You know, the city's not going to be in any worse condition than it was because nothing was getting done. So what transpired from there was we had a couple more council meetings where Damon Brown, you know, made these comments about, you know, how much trouble we're in, the state's going to get us. And so I called the state myself. I called Betty E., the state controller, and I said, you know, Miss Yee, I'm newly elected council member of Bowerton City of Compton. This is the situation. our city attorney stated that you guys would penalize us for not having a city manager. And, you know, is that true? She goes, we could care less about your city manager. It's the controller who we go to look at. And I presented that at a council meeting. So there was deception from day one, you know, and that's the kind of stuff that occurred in here day in and day out, you know, and I have to check myself to see the accuracy of a lot of things that go on here. And I do that so that people will know. I'm not at a turkey giveaway all the time. I'm doing stuff like that. I'm checking this. I'm fact checking. Because even, you know, the people come to the council meeting and say this, they say that, and they're inaccurate. They didn't do their homework. Back to the subject at hand, having the different city managers. So from there, we needed to appoint a city manager. Now, we appointed the fire chief temporarily, which wasn't the best choice, while we were working on getting a city manager. So we got, I believe that's when Thomas was hired. And he turned out to be a flop, you know. Then they brought in Jerry Grooms as a temp until we got Willie Hopkins. And those are the city managers that have been presented since I was here in the seat. And those are the reasons why.
Okay.
And I think Willie Hopkins is doing a good job thus far.
He got his hands full, that's for sure.
He does. His plate is full.
I'm looking here at the in the chat room, and somebody's mentioned the golf course.
Yes, sir.
Any plans to for that property or to reopen the golf course at some point in time, or what do you know about that?
Absolutely, I can tell you a lot about it. So there was some actions that went back and forth over the past years before I got here. They were trying to sell the golf course, all this controversy over the golf course. So a gentleman named Chris Staples, he has a nonprofit. It's called Compton Country Club, actually. He contacted me because he just didn't have any success with the other council members. And I embraced him. And so he's actually done quite a bit and showing his interest and capabilities of redeveloping the Compton Par 3 golf course. And that's the intent right now. He's presented some renditions of the new golf course. He's been to the council meeting, and I totally support him at this point. He has an excellent plan. He's a golfer. He played on that golf. He has PGA, APGA, some other supporters and investors that are interested in doing that golf course. So to answer your question, it is definitely in motion. And right now we're at the, I forget the term of it. I'll tell you 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you. Oh, okay. So we're accepting statement of qualification letters from potential vendors or developers. And the reason why we have to accept the statement of qualification, because what's starting to happen, and I knew this was going to happen, once they knew that was out there, everybody and their mama's showing up, say, hey, I can do the golf course, but that's not the case.
Okay.
I know that Mr. Staples can do it. I've been out there with him. I've seen all his work. I've met his people. CBS Sports. There's actually a video on CBS Sports about that. And he's top-notch guy. You know, they want to bring they want to redo the golf course and perhaps bring the Top Golf technology there as well. Okay. You know, so he's got a heck of a plan. So yes, whoever's asking that, yes, and we're trying to get it done before the Olympics. That's the goal. Mr. Staples says we give them the green light, they can get that golf course up and running prior to the Olympics. So yes, that's the motion, and I'm pushing for that. That's
a great move right there. They're going to bring Top Golf to Compton?
That technology, yes, that is the plan.
Okay, I like that one. That's new on me. That's new one for me, folks. You just got Chambers exclusive here. I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You know, last year we just celebrated an anniversary of renaming Easy Street in Compton.
Yes.
And, there is an area back there that is connected to Easy Street, the roundabout. I'm talking to the city manager about possibly adopting that so we can find some funding to get that roundabout cleaned up and look like, make it part of a tourist attraction. People come to Easy Street, see the sign, take a picture by the sign, whatever the case may be. But as right now as it stands, the roundabout is not up to par. It hasn't been maintained in quite some time. You can see the lack of attention and love to it. and I talked to Mr. Hopkins about the chamber possibly adapting that. He was pretty much open to that. My question is, if we, especially coming for the Olympics, you got a train runs right past this area that would be a benefit for everybody over there, but we only got one side that's open. How do we address that?
So funny you mention that. That's on the list too. And as you know, Lonzo, I'm pushing to get the Olympic Development Committee up and running. And I told you I'd get back with you on that because I know you had an interest in sitting on that. That has been a conversation with the city manager. However, I would like to see the commission push those things that you're referring to right now to be prepared for the Olympics. With respect to monies, we do have some money, and I think that project just needs to be presented in the right perspective, and we can move forward on that. You know, since the audit have taken place, believe it or not, we found some money. You know how that goes.
Right.
You look under the table, and what is this? Oh my God, I didn't know that was there. So, you know, we're not out of the woods yet, but you know, we started out with like a $40 million deficit, and we got about a $30 million surplus, which is not much, but it's way better than where we were.
Okay. Now, I was going back to the metro again. I was told that as long as Compton City owned the hotel, that the parking lot was Compton property, and whatever happens on that parking lot was pretty much responsibility of Compton. Now that it's a private hotel, that is the issue of who's responsible for any activities, good or bad, that happens in the parking lot. And allegedly, I vaguely remember some issues happening in the parking lot back in the day when it was open, and that is supposed to be the reason why the hotel did not want that train open. I think if I'm mistaken, the hotel is the reason why it's closed.
You know, I'm not 100% sure, but at this point, I would think the hotel wants it open. And with respect to the Olympics, I want to put some, excuse me, let me say this right. I want to work with the hotel to help them with the Olympics, because we need to pack that hotel for the Olympics. But we want people to be able to have easy access off that train, you know, so they can either from the hotel to get on the train, or people getting off the train going over there to Target or whatever. You know, I don't think that one entrance is going to make or break incidents happen in the parking lot over there. Because case in point, I mean, as you see, there seems to be an influx of undesirables, and they seem to be frequenting over in that area.
Right.
That's what needs to be cleaned up.
Right.
But definitely, we're working on getting that open as well, Lonzo. Believe me, that's on the radar. That has to be open.
I totally agree. I thought that was one of the most asinine things I've seen in a long time. You got a shopping center that people can't get to, and a train that comes right to it, but you can't get. You got to walk around Artesia, and that's not an easy walk. That's uphill. Okay.
But you're talking about, but see, that goes back to the staff. You know, our urban development. You know, and what have you. You got to develop the community so this will work. You know, you don't want to discourage people from coming here. And those are some of the issues. If there was an incident, okay, then let's do something about it. Let's up our security, put some LVD cameras, do something about it. Don't just shut the door. We can't do that. We want people to come in. We want you to spend your money. We want a reason to come to Compton,
Right.
to go other than something bad. We want you to have a good time here.
Speaking of LTV cameras, you and I talked about those things a couple of years ago. I see them all over the city now. How effective are these LTV cameras in slowing down the negative activity in Compton?
It has had a positive impact. It's not, it's not 100%, but it has a positive impact. In case in point, that was a project that I actually championed. Those cameras actually afford a lot of technology that I won't get into all the details with you, but when the cameras first appeared, they were very effective. Now, we had one over on Long Beach Boulevard dealing with the prostitution, but after a while, the prostitutes kind of got desensitized and they weren't worried about it. But one of my projects was to I kind of spearheaded the task force for prostitution. Now you can see it's been effective. You see the sheriffs out there now,
Yeah.
and they've actually moved that camera to another hotspot. And the hotspots are not necessarily prostitution, but it could be dumping. It could be dumping, you know, whatever other hotspots, the takeovers and what have you.
Has it affected the takeovers?
Well, I'm waiting on mine here in the 3rd district, but we have some calming devices coming. They were just back ordered. They should be here literally any day. I'm hoping to be here before the end of December. That'll take care of that. But the other thing that's coming down the pipe right now, we're getting some technology. The cameras that you see that are up on the poles and things right now,
right?
That's old technology, and those are going to be all replaced with updated, high-tech cameras that do a lot of stuff that I won't tell you everything right now.
Okay.
But they're going to tell on you if you're doing stuff, you know, and that's coming as well.
Interesting. Now, here's something I was told, because I had an idea about street takeovers. I was telling one of the officers, I said, look, if people are videotaping street takeovers, why don't we put an undercover cop in the street takeover, videotape it, get the information for the car, and go arrest the guy later on that day? He says, well, a deputy has to witness. If it's not a felony, a deputy has to witness it in order for it to be enforced.
That's correct.
How did that work with the cameras, though?
Okay, so let me tell you this, Lonzo. Okay, so number one, we didn't have an ordinance. Well, we always had a street racing ordinance and what have you, you know, and of course the law enforcement has to be there and so on. But the street takeovers pose something a little different that no one's ever dealt with before, you know. So we needed to create an ordinance to do that. And what some cities started doing, they championed an ordinance to confiscate your vehicle. Well, creating ordinances, that's what the council is supposed to do. That's some of the job of the city council. Even if it's an emergency ordinance, that's never happened in Compton. I personally champion that ordinance that we now have to confiscate your car. Here's the problem. The city attorney has to file that paperwork with the courts. The city attorney, our Compton city attorney, has to file the paperwork to initiate confiscating your vehicle.
All right. How's that coming?
It hasn't been done.
It hasn't been done?
It has not been done.
So we have a street takeover problem. We have an ordinance that is enforcing for a forfeiture of your car, but it stops and it gets red tape in the city attorney's office.
It gets bogged down in there. Just as we've had hundreds of thousands of dollars of spectator tickets bogged down in there. Sheriffs do write the tickets. Now, the sheriffs do impound your car, but they can only hold it for a certain amount of time. And actually, what should be happening is that while they have your car impounded, that paperwork should be submitted to the judge to sign off so the city can take your car. Another thing that some cities do, let me just segue away from that for a second. Some cities, you know, they'll use the helicopter that has infrared. They get your license and all that stuff. They let you do your thing. They show up at your house next week with a tow truck and some paperwork, and your car is gone. They don't have to chase you or anything, you know. And again, the city attorney's involved in that. They can impound, you know, but to confiscate your car, we have to do that. And, you know, there's changes coming around city attorney's office, as you guys know. By the last election.
For those who don't know, what changes are coming in the city attorney's office?
Well, you guys, there was the city CA, Measure CA, that was put on the ballot. And what that does is it calls for an appointed attorney. And what that means in this case is that how Carson is doing, they have an appointed attorney, which is a firm. It's an attorney that has a firm, a municipal law firm.
Okay. And
how that benefits us is, number one, our city attorney's budget was $14 million. And it's been reduced to $340,000. By getting a municipal law firm, this will cost us about $30,000 a month, which is a fraction of what we're paying, what we're spending for our current city attorney's fund. This will save us $11 million right off the top. That being said, one of the good things about this is that Compton has never pursued. Well, let me back up. When I talked about, looking at funding sources and what have you, we have the railroad. That's multi-trillion dollars going through the city of Compton. Everything used in the United States goes through the city of Compton, and we don't get one dime off of it.
Now,
Carson does.
come on.
Not one nickel, nothing, zero. Trillions of dollars go through Compton every day. There's 4 tracks down there. They're going back and forth to and from the port. We have Chevron oil pipelines that go down Rosecrans from El Segundo to Texas. We don't get one nickel off of a gallon of oil. Carson does, but that's because they got a hell of a municipal attorney and they made it happen. Carson currently has a $250 million surplus. A lot of that money came from the oil company and the railroad. This is what Compton needs to do. This will sustain us into the long into the future. But we got to have some good legal representation, some solid legal representation. We need municipal law here in Compton. That's what we need. It's years overdue. Not one attorney in the history of City of Compton that I know of has approached the railroads or the oil companies. And you remember in the old days when the railroad was above ground and it cut the city off, it cut the city in half or whatever. We should have been getting something for that.
You're right. You're totally right. You're absolutely correct. Now, how is it? So wait. So you said what you're saying is Long Beach, Carson, parts of LA, all these cities. Maybe the Linwood. The Linwood get the piece. It don't go through Linwood. Don't come through Linwood. Yes.
No, I know Vernon does. I believe Bell. Everybody along the rail, but us.
Now, was that a special deal cut when that was done, or we just overlooked the opportunity?
I'm gonna say both, in my opinion.
we left a lot of money.
I just don't think we were focused on it, Alonzo. I really just don't think we had the wherewithal and didn't think. Now I'm gonna say this: one of your city officials, I won't drop her name, but I mentioned we need to go sit down with the railroad. Oh no, we can't do that. It's the railroad. They're powerful. But wait a minute, man. I'm the bridge troll. You can't cross my bridge unless you let me hold something. Right. Those trains are carrying chemicals, petroleum. They're carrying all kind of stuff. Should one of those trains derail and catch on fire in Compton Fire Department has to respond first. That's your product, and you should pay for your the safety of those products or our people. Because you make the money off of those products. But now our people are at risk if one of those trains derail and you have some bad stuff happening.
And you know what? On that subject right there, one of the reasons why you and I have always had a good connection because of your background. For those who don't know, what is your background? So why is public safety so high on your list?
I spent within the fire service. I spent 37 years in the fire service. And people say, well, it's the fire department. What does that have to do? Well, the fire department is a city. I started out at Compton Fire Department and I retired from LA County Fire. LA County Fire has the budget of about equivalent to the state of Maine. But some of my duties in that, I didn't just fight fires. There was administrative duties as well. And that encompassed, facility and equipment maintenance, staff development and leadership, time and resource allocation, budget, planning and management, policy and procedure development, coaching, training, and mentoring. Now, I can go on and on and on, but with dealing with hazardous materials, terrorism, etc., I can go on and on and on. And I'm going to tell you right now, public safety is huge with respect to, well, number one, just having a safe community, but drawing in business and what have you. You have to have quality public safety. And for example, if you look at the city of Long Beach, the city of Los Angeles, Downey, city of Arcadia, their fire department, it says Class 1 fire department on there.
Okay.
What does that mean? Class 1 means they're doing X amount of training per month. They have X amount of personnel. They have X amount of equipment that's capable of doing, X, Y, Z. That means the city's water system is up to a certain level, a certain grade. You know, there's other factors. It's not just the fire department, but without the water system, your fire department cannot achieve a class one rating. What does a class one mean? That's an ISO rating, insurance service office rating. What does that do? It lowers your insurance, your homeowner and commercial insurance. That's a huge benefit. Businesses say, wow, they got hell of a public safety. I want to go to Compton, or at least they're attracted to Compton. You know, right now the word on the street is like, I don't know. I don't feel good about this. And rightfully so. Those are the things that I'm pushing for and working on. Those are my goals. You know, while I'm here in the city of Compton, those will help the citizens. The goal of the council, it's to make the lives better for the people, not make it worse. You know, that's what we're here for. But it takes a lot of work, you know, because Compton it's not a normal situation, you know. But going back to the fire department, you know, my job is to make sense out of chaos. You know, you call me when it's the worst of the worst. That's Compton right now. I can handle this, you know, and I have years of training, education, and experience. I have, in my opinion, I have a very good resume. I've done international work in Zambia, Africa. I was responsible for shipping over well over 150,000 pounds of equipment, funded it, took a team over, and we trained fire personnel over there. And not only that, while we were there, a major incident occurred that our team managed while the Zambian fire department, we managed it. I mean, we kind of directed them. It was a huge incident. What it was a major traffic collision where a diesel, a truck and trailer lost control and ran into an open market, and it killed like 13 people and injured like 30 people. And, you know, we were talking to the fire chief when the call went down. He asked us, hey, will we help him? Of course. It went down seamless. I did the same thing in the island nation of Haiti, shipped down equipment, ambulance, fire apparatus, sent a team down. We did training, you know, actually delivered a baby down there as well, you know. So I can work internationally. Compton is not, this isn't foreign to me, obviously. It's just a difficult situation because of what Compton, the rut that Compton has fallen into. And by us, and I say us, embracing this culture, and we have to eliminate this culture and raise the bar. This will make it better for everybody. Now, some people aren't going to like it because you're going to be accountable. And I'm going to give you an example. There was a resident complaining about parking, and she was calling in on her neighbors and what have you. So parking enforcement came around and they wrote them up and towed a car. So she illegally parked, and they called in on her, and code enforcement got him, and she's complaining, hey, they wrote me up and took my car. I'm like, well, come on now. You can't have it both ways. Right, you know, you got to comply now. So, you know, people have gotten used to codes and ordinances not being enforced. Well, I'm telling you, it's we're up in the game now. It's gonna happen. It is happening now. You know, you see these big rigs parking on the street. There's signage up. I'm advocating towing the big rigs, not just citing them. But you know, that's another story. But look around, the signage is up. You're not supposed to see RVs or big rigs parked anywhere in the city. You know. So parking enforcement is ramping up as we hire more parking enforcement officers. And the goal is to make parking enforcement 24 hours and actually do permit parking at some point in parts or all of the city, like the city of Pasadena, Inglewood, Santa Monica, West Hollywood. They have permit parking, and it's very effective, you know. And again, some people are not going to like it, but parking is out of control here, literally.
I got to tell you a quick story. Had a friend that lived in Hollywood. I parked in Hollywood, go by and visit them. I had no license plate in the front of my car. Got a ticket. And usually, if you get a ticket, if you leave the ticket in the window, you don't get another ticket. Shit, in Hollywood, you get another ticket. I got 2 tickets in the same week for the same thing. I called him. Too bad you should have paid the first one and got a plate. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a bit. It definitely has a. And they teach you not to mess around. In fact, I was riding through Hermosa Beach one evening, and they had one of those portable lighted signs that says "Loud mufflers, $2,000 fine." Okay.
Yeah.
I was going down. I think it was Rosecrans or Marine, coming down Marine, big old sign that says, all right, you got them loud mufflers, $2,000 fine, figure it out. So and in fact, recently, 2 weeks ago, I'm in a Manhattan Beach. I put my money in the meter. I parked my truck, got out the truck, came back. I had a ticket. I got a ticket. I said, there's plenty of time on the meter. They gave me a ticket for not having my wheels turned to the curb.
Yeah.
Okay. $57 because I didn't do this. Okay. And I thought it was a joke at first. It's real. I got to pay him $57.
Not turning your wheels the right way, no front license plate, expired tags. They can cite you for all of those. And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, Lonzo. Here in Compton, once we ramp up parking enforcement, those are the kind of things that are going to happen. Also, you know, I want to embrace technology. The cities of Beverly Hills and Hawthorne and LAPD, they actually have a drone parking enforcement program. And that's something that we're looking at bringing here to Compton, you know.
Drone. They fly around and
looks at your license plate and you get cited. It sends you a ticket. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, we take officers out of harm's way. It's no fuel burn and it's autonomous. It knows to come back to its dock and charge up and whatever.
Boy, that drone gonna be in trouble. Y'all been about to
I mean, you know, Compton is just, unfortunately, I mean, it's a lot of disrespect amongst each other, you know, and we just got to get it back in control again, where it's peaceful and respectful, you know, and the rules have to be followed. You know, we have municipal codes that address everything in this city. They just haven't been enforced, and some people don't even know that there's a code addressing such things, you know. And that's one of the things I've done, Alonzo. I mean, I sit in that office, and I even have it at home, and I go through the municipal code, and I just shake my head and go, "Oh my God, you know, this is deep." We haven't enforced a lot of stuff, you know, over the years. The book is like it's this. I don't know if you can see it's this thick.
Wow.
You know.
Okay. So let me go back to the streets one more time. We said Wilmington starts being repaired into this month. So I guess it's going to start almost right around the end of the first of the year, which would be a good way to bring the new year in. Mm-hmm. What other streets are major streets are being on the list to be repaired?
I believe, I don't have a list in front, but I believe Artesia, that part from you know, from Santa Fe to Compton College, you know how it's all raggedy, then you get to Long Beach, it straightens out. Okay. I believe Compton Boulevard, but then there's a plan for Compton Boulevard as well that was approved a long time ago. It's similar to Wilmington. So that I believe that's next on the between Wilmington and Compton Boulevard, I believe it is. I know Wilmington for sure, but I'm not sure if it's Artesia or Compton Boulevard. You know, I know it's not Alondra. Nothing's coming to Alondra right now, other than now the medians are being addressed as well. That's coming down the pipe because, you know, those are pretty ugly. And that's on the list as well to straighten out those medians, you know.
Are we getting some welcome to Compton signs like we used to have? That was a big deal. Somebody stole. Yeah.
Well, the cars hit them, you know, and even with that, when the cars hit them, if they don't run, you know, so the process, what's supposed to happen is if somebody hits a light pole or whatever and they knock it down, when the cops come, they take a report. We're supposed to get that report and bill their insurance company for it. You know, that hasn't happened. Or if somebody knocks over a fire hydrant and that water's flowing out, we're supposed to report that to their insurance company and they have to pay for that estimated amount of water loss, you know, things like that. So that hasn't been happening. Those are the poor operations that have bestowed the city of Compton. So hence we've just lost millions of dollars over the years from just poor operations, you know, and again, a lack of accountability and what have you. So
is that a city manager thing or is it a city attorney thing?
Well, filing that paperwork, it's actually through risk management, I believe, which was another problem. But the city manager can ensure that those things are being dealt with now, you know.
What is risk management?
So essentially risk management is just what they say. They manage the risk liabilities in the city. For example, when you see when you see the trees where the roots are so bad and the sidewalks buckled, and you like walking up a hill or you trip over it and things like that, risk management is supposed to identify that and cause those things to be repaired. If street lights are out, anything that's a potential risk or hazard to the city, that's where they come into play. We've had many lawsuits on trip and falls, and the processing of those lawsuits have been flawed. Some things hadn't even gone past risk management. They were never notified, things like that. Compton has had very poor communications, over the years. So again, the right hand didn't know what the left hand is doing, but when a lawsuit is filed, city attorney, risk manager, city manager, and council should know about this,
Interesting.
That's how it should be processed. But a lot of times that information just hadn't been getting disseminated. So it's my contention that we have that municipal law firm. A lot of these things will be tightened up.
So that has passed. Is now in full effect?
It passed. It has. The measure has passed. Now, as far as the city attorney being unseated, I'm not 100% sure we finished out the term, but we are using a firm right now for some of our business.
Interesting. Very interesting. Compton is moving, folks. Some people are gonna love it, some people ain't gonna like it, but it is what it is. Okay. Progress always affects people in different ways. Some people can't stand it, some people love it, some people embrace it. I look forward to it myself. We have that's something else. We had one of my viewers is talking about we had 3 fatal accidents due to a street takeover. How's that coming in the city of Compton, street takeovers?
Well, like I was saying, the camera technology is going to help us along with our new legal counsel.
Okay.
And we're going to be implementing or installing traffic calming devices. Like I said, that's coming. It was on back. Or there's these things you put in the street. They're not bubbles, not those things. They don't work. There's some other type of devices that it will stop that in its tracks. Okay. They would have been in place, but again, they went on back order. They were supposed to be here months ago. Actually, they're supposed to be here way back during Thomas, but our department dropped the ball, if you will.
Some like those rubber gizmos that go on the street.
Something similar to that, yes.
Okay. So they give you traction so you can't burn out, or?
Well, they're kind of raised, so your tire, it won't allow the tire to spin over that. They've done it in Oakland and what have you, and they've been very successful with it.
How do they affect the normal traffic though?
It won't. Okay. It won't affect it.
You just get a little and keep on.
You may get a little boom, but it won't allow you to spin.
Okay. So we gonna do all intersections, just certain intersections.
Well, right now it'll be the hot spots, but I think part of what's going to happen with again as things unfold, when we make examples out of some people, when you lose your car,
the word gets out.
Start getting people's attention.
The word to get out. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
So, it's coming. Just be patient. Again, just trying to get the office in order, if you will, has been a monumental task. You just wouldn't believe how in disarray the city hall was. When I first got there, I mean, literally, it was a fire trap. It's unbelievable what was going on in the city hall. They had
literal fire trap?
They were storing furniture and what have you in the basement.
Okay.
Like in the corridors and stuff that blocked exits and things like that. Those are fire code violations. So how anyone could look the other way, I just don't understand. Because if you had a fire, people may die. I mean, because you're not gonna be able to see, and you're gonna assume running down this corridor to an exit, you'll be able to get out. But if you're running into desks and things like that, or if firefighters come in the other way, they'll get disoriented, and entrapped, and they may die. Not to mention, if a fire gets going down in the basement, and so let me back up. I actually had the fire department come over and do an inspection, and they had some immediate fixes, right? Immediate stuff that needed to be fixed immediately. One of them was electrical. it's typical when you get these fires where buildings are just fully involved. They start at 2 in the morning.
Okay.
So if you can imagine a basement fire starting at 2 in the morning, by the time somebody recognizes the city hall, it's going to be a wrap.
Right.
You know, we will have burnt the city hall down. Fire extinguishers hadn't been serviced since like 2017. Sprinkler system hadn't been tested since God knows when. Things like that. We're asking for it. We're asking for trouble. And the city hall is the brain center. That is unacceptable. It should have never happened. And it's just hard for me to believe that no staff member, city manager, city council, nobody is thinking about the public safety, because you're putting employees and public at risk. Not to say you're going to shut the city down. You know, we didn't have a generator here. We have that now. That was another one of my pushes. Every fire station does now. Every one of them does now. Okay. We have AEDs in city buildings now, the automated external defibrillators, you know, things like that. To me, these are obvious things. And I want to say this is the benefit to the community about me being a real public safety expert, if you will. We got a long ways to go, but some things have been done. Online is our emergency preparedness manual. I literally created that myself. It's online. The Spanish version is on its way, but look online and see that, you know, we've been having earthquakes on a regular basis, just a matter of time before we get a good one, you know, and it may not be something that destroys all the buildings, but if water lines are broken or gas lines are broken, or for whatever reason you can't get to the store, what are you going to do? You know, you got to be prepared. If you can't flush your toilet, what is your backup plan? You know, that book addresses those things, you know, and not having a toilet, it might not seem big, but it's a huge deal. You know what I'm talking about? When you got to go to the bathroom, you got to do something.
Right.
You know, and so these are things that you got to think about. And I urge everybody, look at that booklet, and it even talks about, you know, helping your neighbor. If they're elderly or something like that, go check on them, you know, make sure they're okay if something happens, you know. It's things like that. We got to be a community that's prepared. And when you go back to things like that no one ever thought about, like COVID, the city of Compton should have had a plan in place for a pandemic, because they do happen. We should be prepared. Hospitals were at their capacity. The city of Compton should have had a plan for a field hospital. We shouldn't have to wait on LA County or whatever. We need our own plan here in the city of Compton. What do you do for the elderly? What do you do for the babies? What do you do for pregnant women, et cetera, et cetera? You know, what do you do for special needs people? How do you care for these people? They're here. We got almost 100,000 people. We probably got over 100,000 people here. Right. How do we care for them?
Good question.
You know, a lot of people don't know that if, let's just say there was an earthquake and the water pipes are broken and you don't have any water coming in your house, where am I going to get water from? Well, number one, right now you need to store some water. But if you got a hot water tank, you got about 30 or 40 gallons of drinkable water in there. You know, a lot of people don't think about that, you know. So you have some stuff available to you. Just look in that book, you know, put your plan together, get toilet paper. You can never have too much toilet paper, you know.
Yeah, because the bidet don't work if you got a doggone, if you can't get no water.
Nope. You're gonna be pretty nasty.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left. Anything that you specifically you want to talk about before we wrap this show up?
Well, I just want to say this, you know, for the future of Compton, I actually have a strategic plan for the city, and I believe this will sustain the city of Compton long into the future, you know, long after I'm dead and gone. One of my big upcoming projects is annexation of unincorporated land. And I think, Lonzo, you and I talked about this.
Yes, we did.
Looking at annexing unincorporated land, i.e. the industrial land south of the 91, well, south of University, and east, going down Wilmington, south of University and east of Wilmington. All that land from there going over to Santa Fe, that's all unincorporated land. And actually it used to be Compton back in the day, because the address, if you go down to Del Amo, that address is whatever it is, 12345 Del Amo, Compton, California. It still says Compton. Those houses what they call Del Amo, that's to the west of Wilmington down there. That used to be the city of Compton.
Okay.
And they sold it out. But anyway, I'm saying all that to say, if we start working on annexing that land, this is millions of dollars to bring into our city. You know, millions of dollars in industrial or commercial, you know, funds or what have you. That's huge. And that's through the Local Agency Formation Commission for Los Angeles County, also known as LAFCO. You know, I think this is crucial, and it's something we should, you know, get a handle on right now. And also bringing other types of business here. Well, number one, Compton needs to embrace business, and our building safety, that's getting fixed. It's some good stuff coming down the pipe. You'll see it's going to be a lot easier to utilize them. You'll be able to do stuff online. We're right there, almost ready to launch that, so be patient. Another thing that I want to push to see is bringing technology here, like you and I talked about, bringing in micropressor or semiconductor manufacturing, or the companies that manufacture products for them, because that is the future. That's what makes your phone work. That's what makes your computer work. That's what is going to take these spaceships to Mars. That technology is going to be here. It's only going to improve, you know, after we're long dead and gone. It'll be like Star Trek, you know, that kind of stuff, you know. And Compton, we need to change the face of our city and really embrace technology, raise the bar, have some accountability, come with other funding sources, and Compton would be one heck of a city. That's the short version.
Annexing that territory, will that offset some of the taxes for the pension?
It can.
Okay.
I'm not going to say to eliminate it, but, you know, we got to do some math, you know. It can definitely, right now, again, there's some things in place that we could reduce this, but I don't want to make a false statement. Yeah, we can get rid of it, blah, blah, blah. We got to map it out. And maybe it could say, hey, in 15 years, it'll go away, because you got to understand right now, all the employees that are already retired from Compton, you stuck with that. You're stuck. You can't change their stuff. You know,
you can change that.
Huh?
People coming in, you can make some changes.
Absolutely. Yeah, the people that are retired, though, we already agreed to that. That's already been agreed to. So you can't undo their agreement.
Okay.
But, and obviously they're going to be dying off and so on and so forth. So, you know, but again, if we bring in all these other funds, the oil companies, the railroad, annexation, technology, you know, embrace. Oh, one thing I did forget, Alonzo, and I told you, you know, one of my trips when I spoke at the International Sister Cities conference, you know, we met with businesses that want to do business here. You know, they want to do things like import wine. Wine is big business in South Africa. They want to import right here. And I think that would be great if we embrace that and make it easier for them to, you know, to set up their business here in the city of Compton, not just Los Angeles, but I mean here in Compton, and be more on the international stage with respect to business. You know, there was another entity here. I can't remember. It's not Zambia, but they literally said, hey, you know, if we want to do business with Compton, especially if you guys had clothing and stuff that said from Compton, that people would just go into a frenzy. And those are the things we need to look at.
You know, you and I first had I interviewed you before when you first ran for city council. But we had one of our first face-to-face, eye-to-eye conversations right after the Super Bowl in 2022. We both spoke at an elementary school in LA, and
yes, I remember.
That's when we had the chance to sit down and talk, and that's what inspired me to create the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce. That combined with the fact that later on I ended up being on this Harvard Bloomberg Leadership Institute program, and just made me realize there was a communication gap in the city of Compton. And you said something to me that rung a bell, and you just rung the bell again. Compton got all that exposure, and we didn't make a dime. We got all the exposure, and we just, again, left the money on the table. The Olympics is coming to town. NBA All-Star game is coming. FIFA's coming. Something else is coming that I forgot. Oh, All-Star game.
The World Cup.
World Cup. Thank you.
Yeah.
And these are some of the things that we need to be ready for, so we can be in position to get some money out of this stuff. I mean, people is
You're absolutely right.
a global
You're
name.
absolutely right.
Compton is a global brand, and for some reason, it's not being marketed or being handled like that. And that's why I'm doing the Easy Street. That's why I'm doing the roundabout, the Walk of Fame, and I need the city council to hopefully see the vision so that when these events take place, we can have something to show these people because they want to come. They want to
So,
come.
Lonzo, that goes back to the business part that I'm talking about. Compton is a gold mine in and of itself. Your property is valuable. That's why you need to take care of it. You know, we need to tighten our city up because if you don't, let me say this, you know, if you're not at the table when decisions are made and what have you, and like your council person, if they're supposed to be your voice, you know, do you want your city better? Tell your council person, and it don't have to be your district. Let them know. Like myself, you can always shoot me an email, jbowers@comptoncity.org. You know, I meet with any constituent. Doesn't matter what district you're in, but you know, we're supposed to be your voice. We're supposed to be at the table because if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. Just remember that.
All right, I got to go right. That's it right there. That's a mic drop right there. That's a mic
All
drop.
right.
Jonathan Bowers, folks. You're live here in Compton. You're Lonzo, the president of the Compton Entertainment Chamber of Commerce. Jonathan Bowers, third Compton City Council, 3rd District. Mr. Bowers, thank you very much, sir. I'll see you in the streets of Compton.
Thank you, Lonzo. Y'all have a good evening out there in Compton.
All right, peace. Bye-bye.